So initially, I had this book called The Tainted Grove, and I submitted it for querying, and I ended up getting a message back. It was about, I think, 50,000 words. They wanted it to be 120. They wanted me to essentially rewrite it and change the main character from a woman to a man. Because the story basically followed this investigative reporter that ended up going to this town that every time she'd reach the outskirts of it, she'd end up back at the starting point. Nobody could leave the town, and there was no explanation as to why. None of the citizens cared or even acknowledged this fact. So that put a sour taste in my mouth, along with the fact that of the $4,000 advance fee that I would get, I was responsible for making all of that back. And this was well before I had social media presence and was making videos. Then I realized that if I went self-publishing, I would only have to sell a fraction of the amount of books to make the same amount of money. You know, a 4 or 5% royalty versus a 70% royalty or whatever KDP is. Not only that, they didn't want to use the cover that I already had. They wanted to use their own in-house artists and stuff. So essentially, there was just too many things and too many concessions that they wanted from me on my own work. I wanted the creative flexibility and the ability to decide what I wanted to do, where I wanted my story to go. And given that I live in a rinky-dink small town, there aren't any bookstores here, so I wasn't that concerned on getting in them. Author signings and everything just sound like a headache. So I elected to self-publish. And now with the success that I've seen, you'd have to offer me a lot of money for me to go traditional. Like, I want over 60 grand. But that's also totally personally subjective. That's my decision that I've made for me. I wouldn't discourage anyone from doing it themselves. But a large part of my content, especially my YouTube, doesn't focus around my writing. And the majority of money I make online isn't attached to my books. Also, my dream is to open up an animation studio and one day a game development studio. So, being locked into a contract was just not something I was really looking forward to doing.